Greetings! You know what it is!
And his name is John C.
Today, we've got another Shadow Era video. Last video, I did top decks for the meta, April 2020. Today, bonus decks. So if the last video was more tier 1 or S tier, you can consider this tier 1.5 or maybe A plus tier. These decks are very strong, very competitive. Played them myself, tested them. Let's hop into it right away. As usual, you'll see deck lists on the top. You'll see recordings over here of gameplay. And you'll see deck codes in here and in the bottom in the description. If you like these videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get into it. First things first, we are going into Boris. So this Boris deck, I've got even split, like I normally do, 20 allies. I got 2 Yari Blade Dancers, 2 Fuzums. I like Fuzum in that interaction with Gemstone Javelin, which you can see in the completed list above. And I like Yari Blade Dancer, particularly with that Visca that comes in hasted. And of course, it just fits real well with Alden in this build. So 2 Yari, 2 Fuzums. Now, 2 Alden the Braves, very staple for human decks. 4 Laerian Seductress works very well with Crippling Blow in these decks to match up with that Yari Marksman to come in and really slam home on an opposing ally. So 4 of those Yari Marksmen, 4 Yari Plunderers to bring back those Javelins and those Dragon's Tooths, and then round it out with 2 Viscas for the allies. Abilities, 4 Crippling Blows, your Warrior deck, don't leave home without it. 2 Bad Santas to get that supplemental draw going when we need it. 1 Smashing Blow. You could also do 2 Smashing Blows in this deck. 4 Blood Frenzies. That's your primary draw. Use Bad Santa if Blood Frenzy is having trouble coming into your hand. 1 Enrage and 1 Rampage. If you want 2 Smashing Blows in this deck, you could take out either the Enrage or the Rampage and go for 2 Smashing Blows. To keep it at that 40 card deck, I try to keep Warrior decks at 40 cards as much as possible. Actually, all of my decks really for these videos. But in particular, even if you're looking at bigger decks, Warriors try to stick to that 40 card amount so you can get the Blood Frenzy going as quickly as possible. And again, for our items, we got 4 Javelins, 4 Gemstone Javelins, and 2 Dragon's Tooth. So that rounds out our Boris deck. I think you guys are going to like it. It can handle just about anything that you throw at it. So much board control that Boris provides. It's still strong. Now, next we got Garth. Alright, so in the last video we had Lance. We have Garth in this one, so that's our next rogue hero in here, still at the top. For allies, again, 20 allies. Again, I love that 20 ally number. We got 4 Skilled Ironmongers. One of the best 2-cost allies in the game to me because it's always retaining that value. It's, adding that extra durability onto your weapons, especially Ankle Breaker, feels so nice in these rogue ally decks. So I highly recommend putting Skilled Ironmonger in those rogue decks. We got 4 Night Owls for draw and for that little extra stealth if you're behind on the board. 4 Aldmore Artisans, that's going to pull your ill-gotten gains. Make it cheaper to play. It's kind of like your version of Bad Santa in rogue decks, being able to pull that out. 2 Braxnoian Soldiers. That's not only our Lance deck primarily, but Visca and is still a very popular ally, so Brax is really going to help you on the board for that. We have 2 of our own Visca in this deck. And to round it out, we have 2 7-cost allies. We have Oliver Fagan. So Oliver's going to pull a 3-cost ally back into your hand that doesn't have Steadfast on it. Remember, Steadfast allies cannot be removed from the board. So Oliver's not going to work on those allies. Watch out for that. And Kion the Magnificent. This is stealth tech. It's ally protection, reducing the damage they take. Kion is just such a strong ally, so we have 2 of those in here. For abilities, we have 2 Sinkholes, 2 Garth's Concoction for extra board control. Nice even split because we have 4 2-cost allies. So if we're a little slow early, we don't have that skilled Ironmonger for turn 2, we have a couple of sinkholes in there. That's also going to help against like lightning query decks and getting that location off the board. And 2, Garth's Concoction works really well with Garth's ability. And again, we only have 8 3-cost allies in here, so if you're a little slow on turn 3, Garth's Concoction can help that out too. And then 4, Stop Thief, our primary item control. This doesn't destroy abilities like Focus Prairie does, but it does accelerate your resources on top of destroying items. And that fits very well with Ill-Gotten Gains too, so you get that resource acceleration, item destruction, draw, just a really nice combo to go with those items. 4 Ill-Gotten Gains, 2 Spirit Shuriken. Spirit Shurikens are very nice if you happen to get board flooded. You can again use that as a 4 Shadow Energy ability to go with your Garth ability. 4 Ankle Breakers, your primary weapon control for a rogue. And 1 Spell Eater Bands. Again, mage decks. So Lance decks, mage decks, put in that Lance control, put in that mage control, force them to answer to your tech. That's what we're doing in this Garth deck. Again, fits very nicely in this build. After Garth, we're going to Zaladar. Now, you'll see that my Zaladar list is different than what other players are using for Zal right now, but don't worry. This is sort of like a double bonus. So you're not only getting my Zal list, you're getting a more prevalent Zal list that's in the meta right now. Now, remember from my Bane Bowl list of using 4 crossbows, I still like playing that high tempo for that type of hero, and Zal to me fits that type of hero that Bane Bow is too, of just constantly putting pressure on the board at a high tempo pace. So I'm using a dagger discard build. So let's look at the allies. We got 4 Harbingers of the Lost, 2 Deathmage Thaddeus, 2 Rampant Krygons. These guys have immediate impacts on the board. Brimstone Devourer, primarily to go with our False Blood Cultist, and our Antimatter and our Harbinger. Discard allies fit great in this deck. 4 Reactor Rays, and again, that 4 False Blood Cultist. If you want to go for the non-discard build, you're going to replace those 4 Harbingers with 4 Stardust Transfusers. And you're going to take out 2 of those Reactor Rays and put in 2 Ironhide Crush. That's what I have for that. So for now, for our abilities, we have 4 Shadow Fonts, 4 Mind Controls, and 2 Leyline Nexus. Lately, I've actually taken Soul Reaper out of my Zal decks, especially in this, because you have the Harbingers in there. And it's really hard to keep that Soul Reaper in the deck without getting discarded. You never know what's going to happen with Harbinger. And on top of that, Soul Reaper can oftentimes be dead draw in your hand at the beginning of the game. So if you're trying to play a more high-tempo build, you want to avoid that dead draws as much as possible. So I've taken that completely out. If you want to play the non-discard version of this, of Zal, take 2 of those Shadow Fonts out, replace it with 2 Energy Extraction. That's going to be a big finisher for you. Items, we got 4 Antimatters, 4 Dagger of Fates, and 2 Soulbound Armor. Now remember how I said I like playing at that high tempo pace? Antimatter is not a high tempo draw engine, so the Dagger of Fate will kind of cancel out that tempo loss of paying 3 cost to draw. So you draw with Dagger of Fate with Antimatter, you activate Dagger of Fate so it can do an extra point of damage to a hero, or an extra 2 points of damage to an opposing ally, so it's a 3 attack weapon to an opposing ally. Or you can just hit the hero in the face. So I find that the Dagger of Fate is a really good weapon for canceling that tempo loss of Antimatter. If you're going for the non-discard build, take out your Antimatters, replace it with 2 Bad Santas and 2 Stardust Extractors. And then for the 4 daggers, replace the 4 daggers with 4 Life-Infusing Scepters. So I'll have both deck codes in the description, one for the discard Zal, one for the non-discard Zal. Now, moving on from Zaladar, we are coming up to Krugel Victor. You call it Krugel Victor, even though it has a lot of non-Krugel allies that just fit really well. Victor actually likes to play more of a fatty build too, but Victor in general just likes playing a lot of allies. So for 2-cost allies, we have 6 of them. We have 3 Krugel Trappers, 3 Krugel Braggarts. Braggart is also a very good card to pull with Victor's ability. Drops him to 1 health. throw Braggart on the build for that on the board for that 1 damage to that opposing ally. That's up 1 health now, and now it's a 3/3 ally you just put on the board and kill their opposing ally. We also have 3 Alden the Braves and 3 Sneerkrugs. Sneerkrug very good at defending these lower health bow allies like Braggart, for example. You get that 3/3 Braggart on the board. It's not very sticky. You got a 2/5 Sneerkrug with Defender, and they have to damage that Sneerkrug before they can get rid of the Braggart. Very good in this build. We have 3 Deepwood Bobcats. Works very nicely getting hasted in. That's our goal with Bobcats. But if you have to drop it on turn 4 just to get ally pressure on the board, it feels fine doing that too. Nice sticky ally 3/5, you know, so it feels good at turn 4. Now for fatties, we have 2 Viscas. Also works very well with Lance's ability. Drop into 1, throw the Visca on the board, kill the ally. We have 2 Drangus. Drangus is going to buff up our Krugel allies and Sneerkrug and Deepwood Bobcat. So Drangus feels really good in here, and give them ambush on top of that. So Drangus definitely a good ally here. Drangus is also going to buff Camouflage Foe. Don't forget. Now we also have 2 Nathanius. Give us some extra draw too, because we have 23 allies in this deck. Very high probability of pulling a free ally. And 2 Kion the Magnificence. Again, from my Garth video, just such a strong ally out there if you're just trying to put fatties in the deck. For abilities, 2 Poison Arrows. I still like having 2 Poison Arrows in Victor decks. It's a nice card to use with Deepwood Bobcat. You know, you have a turn 2, right? Let's say you have not turn 2. You could use it on turn 2. So you have 8 turn 2 options. Let's say you have 6 resources. You could throw a Poison Arrow on an ally. Take another first drop Bobcat, then put a Poison Arrow on an ally. Use a Victor's ability on another ally to pull your Poison Arrow back. Kill that ally with the Bobcat that's hasted now, so you have 1 ally that's stunned and poisoned. You have another ally that's dead. It's just a very nice combo. I really like that combo, so 2 Poison Arrows in here. 4 Hunter's Gambits, 7 costs. You can stealth in the Bobcat too with that. That's your primary draw here. In the deck, you have 1 A Legend Rises to deal with crippling blows from warriors. Oftentimes they'll cripple your Nathanius, for example, so you can throw an ALR on it. And 1 Leyline Nexus. This is primarily to deal with like a priest, King's Pride, and rogues, ankle breakers. These are the main things that you're using Leyline for, and Baduruu weapons too. So Leyline's just a really good tool to have in your deck. If you don't need it, you just sack it. Now for items, we have 1 Last Harvest. This is going to be your Victor version of King's Pride. You can drop it and buff your allies. It's very nice. But it doesn't give you the armor benefits that King's Pride has. It's strictly an ally buff. Now we have 2 Weevil Tipped Crossbow. If you're worried about your health, you can make it 2 Soul Seekers. But I often like to use it as additional tech against weapons too. And it's a 3 cost weapon. Works well with Victor's ability too, to keep your tempo up. 3 Camouflage Foes. So you have 3 Trappers, 3 Foes for that digging. And 2 Wrath of the Forest for some supplemental draw in this deck. This is a very strong deck. I highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet. And then finally, Baduruu. But this is the Bobcat Baduruu. There's another undead Baduruu build out there. I still like the Bobcat Baduruu over that. For allies, I have 4 Krugel Trappers, 4 Deepwood Bobcats, and 4 Snowland Spotters. Technically, this deck has 16 allies because of the foes. For abilities, we have 4 Pack and Extras. This is one of the type of plays I like to do is, say, play like a Here Be Monsters on turn 3, a Spotter on turn 4, and then a Bobcat with a Pack and Extra on turn 5. That gives you a ton of board pressure on there, especially with that resource denial on top of it. So we have 4 Here Be Monsters, 4 Hunter's Gambits, 2 Perfect Shots in this deck because it is a fatty meta, and with Baduruu, if you can avoid taking retail damage from those fatties while you're trying to kill them, that would be preferred. So we have 2 Perfect Shots in there, and 1 Leyline Nexus. That's primarily to deal with armors, like a King's Pride. Or maybe you're playing a Zaladar with Soulbound that's just putting the Soulbound in there to absorb your hits, destroy it. That's the primary reason we have Ley Line in here is for armors. But you can use it for weapons too if you like. So items, again, for those camouflage foes, 1 Night Prowler. If you happen to get a really strong start, and then drop a Night Prowler on top of your board control, you can just end the game right there, like on turn 6. Game can pretty much be over. 2 Soul Seekers. Soul Seeker's really good if you have to take a lot of retail damage early to situate your board. You use those Soul Seekers to get your health back up. Or if you're playing like a rogue or a priest deck that has a lot of item destruction, that's getting rid of the weapons you're bringing in, Soul Seeker's a nice cheap weapon to bring right back onto the board for you at 5 costs. So we have 2 Soul Seekers in there. We have 2 Grundler's doubles to deal with, like, let's say you're playing a Moonstalker deck, right? Because Grundler's double can attack right through stealth. So Grundler's is really nice to have in there. Also 5 durability. Maybe you only have 1 ally on the board, so you can get, maybe the only ally on the board is a spotter, so you can get extra draw from the double 2. Grundler's double is just a really nice weapon, but we have 2 of them in there. Primarily, we rely on 3 M4 crossbow as our primary weapon, our primary damage dealing weapon. With Baduruu's ability, it's doing 4 damage to an ally plus another one beginning their turn. So if it's like a 2-5 ally, you can take some retail damage and kill that ally right off with that Baduruu deck. So that's it there. That's our 5 bonus decks. 6 bonus decks, if you include that Zal. Technically 7 if you want to include an Undead Baduruu, but again, I think Bobcat Baduruu is a little better here. So yeah, so that's 5-6 extra decks that I've talked about in this video. Take them for spins. They're very strong in the meta right now. You've probably seen them already in pop-ups in other tournaments or in your quick matches. So enjoy the decks, you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey everyone, did you enjoy today's video? Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Did you hate today's video? Then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's really the only way I can tell. Thanks.